What should your team's win total be in 2021? What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here, and in this video, I'm going to give you the over or the under for your team's win total now that the NFL has expanded to a 17-game season, a 17-game schedule. Do I believe their win total should be above or below where Vegas has placed that win total for 2021? I have not seen these win totals. I am giving you my raw reaction and the number of wins that I would set it at if I was Vegas. So before I give you your team's win total, make sure that you do Gronk spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this. Also, comment your opinion in the comment section below. Let me know what your win total should be for your NFL team in 2021. Before we start, it's kind of weird to be saying 10-7 instead of 10-6. It's really odd that we are going to say 11-6 instead of 11-5. Let's kick it off with the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, according to Vegas, have a win total now in a 17-game schedule of 10.5. I think the 49ers are loaded. Of course, I am a huge Kyle Shanahan guy, but if it's a rookie quarterback, there is slight hesitation for me. So I'm going to go with 9.5. The Chicago Bears in Vegas are at 7. I strongly disagree with this number. I have the Chicago Bears at a staggering 4.5 win total. Their quarterback position, I know they believe they upgraded. I believe they downgraded. The defense, it's worse. They lost pieces, specifically in the secondary. I thought they were a fluky playoff team last year. I have them being one of the worst teams in football in 2021. The Cincinnati Bengals, according to Vegas, 6.5. I totally agree, actually, with Vegas, 6.5. The reason I have the Bengals at 6.5 is because I see the potential with Cincinnati, probably with a floor of 5 wins, because if Joe Burrow is healthy, they do have talent on offense, and I think he can win them some games. So Cincinnati is in a big transitional year where they need to make something happen, and I think Joe Burrow will push them around the 6 to 8 win mark in 2021. The Buffalo Bills in Vegas are set at a 10.5. Buffalo is the favorite to win that AFC East. Not sure if they will or not, but I do see them making the playoffs. They have the best quarterback by a mile in the division, and they have a very solid coaching staff with plenty of talent around Josh Allen. This team is pretty locked to make those offs, so I'd take the over right now. Interesting enough, the Denver Broncos, 7.5 in Vegas. I have them at 6.5. If Drew Lock is their quarterback as currently constituted, I do not see them being very good this year. I just don't see Drew Lock having a big breakout season. Now, I could be wrong. If Drew Lock can just deliver, this team is very talented. So I could certainly see where I'm wrong. But because they're within a division, I like the Chiefs, I like the Chargers, it's going to be tough for them to be anywhere but third in this division. So I'm going to go with 6.5. I do not understand this one. I look at Cleveland as an elite team in the AFC, and I have them right now at 11. I really like this number. If you can get it, take it. Cleveland has an awesome offense, and their continuity will be intact from last season. You'll only add Odell Beckham Jr., their most explosive playmaker. The defense has gotten better in the offseason, especially in the secondary with John Johnson, Troy Hill. I think this team is a true AFC championship, maybe even Super Bowl appearance in 2021. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Super Bowl champs, have a win total of 11.5. Who are you kidding? They're not winning less than 11 games. So 13 is my win total over under, because you think about it, Tampa Bay could be better. In fact, I do think they're going to be better, at least in the regular season. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to repeat, make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, but I do think in the regular season, you will see a more explosive offense. You will see a defense that has chemistry, continuity, and I could certainly see them winning over 13 games. Remember, 17 games. So that means they could win 14, they could win 15, or they could win 16 games in 2021. The Arizona Cardinals. Vegas has them at 8, and I have them at 8. I don't see the Cardinals improving much from last year. I still think if you compare their roster to the rest of the division, San Francisco, the Rams, and Seattle, I think they're still the weakest overall roster. Now, they could make that jump into playoff territory, and I wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of it is going to be on the shoulder of Kyler Murray to do so. I'm just not sure in that division I'd be willing to bet the over here. The Los Angeles Chargers have a number of 9 in Vegas, and I would go with 8.5. So I'm slightly lower than Vegas here. They did lose Hunter Henry, got back Jared Cook. I feel their offense may be slightly better because of the upgrades on the offensive line, but defensively, I do think they lost pieces. I'm not certain about a coaching change. While I think it makes them better, obviously, here by the win total, I could see Justin Herbert being amazing, but like, how much more amazing can he be than he already was last year? Plus, you have a year of tape. Sometimes you see a year of regression from these guys. So I could see them being maybe slightly overhyped. Don't get me wrong, I'll probably predict them to go to the playoffs, but 9 seems a little rich because there's so much unknown with them. The Kansas City Chiefs have a number of 12, and I would set it at 12 as well. I think Kansas City is pretty safe to get around 11 to 14 wins this year because they have Patrick Mahomes. When you have the best or the second best quarterback in the NFL, and you have the best or the second best coach in the NFL, and you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, you're going to win a lot of games. It doesn't really matter what season it is, and it doesn't really matter the rest of the team. Kansas City's going to make the playoffs. They'll be a top seed in the AFC. 12 is a pretty good number. The Indianapolis Colts are set at 10. I have them at 9. I'm not a believer in Carson Wentz. I don't care if it's in a Frank Reich offense. They did lose their left tackle. I don't think anyone's talking about that. And currently, they do not have much of a pass rush. So right now, their roster is overrated, but I still see them upgrading it and probably being the best, most well-rounded team in the division. So I could see them winning the division this year, but it might only be at 9 or 10 games. So I'm slightly lower than Vegas on the Colts. The Dallas Cowboys. Vegas has this number pretty high, 9.5. Why it's high is because the Cowboys are a very public team. They're very popular, which means their number is always going to be higher than you would expect. To me, I'd set it at 8.5, maybe 9 if I was being nice. I just look at their defense right now, and I don't feel it's anywhere near where it needs to be. I love the offense, don't get me wrong. I think they have plenty of weapons. I love Dak. He's gonna make this team better. They might even win this division, but I think they can win this division at 9 or 10 wins. Like, honestly, Dallas is explosive on offense, but I think they might be slightly overrated. The Miami Dolphins have a number of 9. I would look to take the under. Currently, I'd put Miami at 8.5. I just don't love Tua. I feel Tua is not a stud of an NFL quarterback. Can he be average? Sure. I'm still not a huge believer in this offensive line. I think they brought in Will Fuller. That's nice to see. They have plenty of picks to improve this team. I thought that a lot of their wins were based on kind of fluky defensive results, fluky special teams results. That won't happen again this year. That's why I see them around 8, 9, but they're going to land somewhere in that area. So I'd take slightly 8.5. The Philadelphia Eagles are set at 6.5. Woo! I'm way lower on them, I guess. I have them at 5. I like the offensive line a little bit more now. Brandon Brooks will be back. People forget that he actually exists. I don't know what's happening with Zach Ertz, but I don't know if that even matters. They just don't have a lot of weaponry in this offense. I'm a bigger believer in Jalen Hurts than other people are, but this defense, I'm not a big believer in. They traded back for a reason. They need more picks. They need to stockpile picks and get younger. I think this team is kind of in rebuilding stage, and that's why I'm way below where Vegas thinks this team is. The Atlanta Falcons, and more often than not, I agree with Vegas when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. I'm with them at 7. Here's why. Now, I could see Atlanta being way better than 7. Like, I could see them winning 10, 11 games. I could. They have that potential. They have some very good players. You know, Matt Ryan's still very good. Julio, if he's playing, is still excellent. Calvin Ridley is unreal. And they have the offense, along with the offensive coach. I think they improved drastically on their coaching staff with Dean Pease and Arthur Smith. I think that's a huge upgrade. But I look at Carolina and I look at New Orleans, and I see all three of these teams in a similar position. I could see them all being around the same record, which I think hurts all of them. I see Atlanta having a really easier schedule than last year. I just don't know. Like, I don't know about that defense. I don't know about that offensive line. They have clear weaknesses. So I'm kind of all over the place with Atlanta. So I agree with 7 right now. The New York G-Men. Vegas has them at 7. I have them at 7.5. Now, here is why. The Giants, I think, have very high potential. I love their receiving core, tight ends, Saquon back, healthy, most explosive, in my opinion, when he plays, best back in the league. The offensive line isn't as bad as people think, and Daniel Jones has huge upside. Might be this year that he explodes. The defense is already pretty good, and it got better adding players like Adoree Jackson. Love Joe Judge. I think they're doing good things there, and I could see this being the season where they win this division. So that's why I have them a little bit above Vegas, but I could also see the downside. I could see Daniel Jones turning the ball over, not playing very well, the offensive line falling apart, you know, Saquon getting hurt, all these things happening in the other direction as we've already seen. I kind of have a feeling that it's going to turn the other way for the Giants. Plus, this division just isn't very good. So, like, the Giants could be that one team, the one team that I see that actually has upside in this division. The Jacksonville Jags. Surprisingly, 6.5. I don't get this one really. Like, I understand Jacksonville has improved this offseason, and I've been a big believer in what they've done, but I still feel they're pretty far ways away, especially in the first season with Trevor Lawrence. Like, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some growing pains, but I do see that the division isn't very good. So if that's what Vegas is looking at, I could see that, okay, especially if Deshaun Watson is not available. It's a solid roster, but it doesn't feel like a good or great roster. It's just kind of meh. I think Trevor Lawrence would have to be pretty spectacular for them to be in playoff contention, competing for this division. 6.5 seems a little rich to me. I'm still thinking that Jacksonville is like a 5.5 here. The New York Jets. Jets. They're set also at 6.5. Off the top of my head, they might be the worst team in the AFC. Like, they've improved, don't get me wrong, but again, new coaching staff and what's likely to be a limited offseason like last year. Maybe not as limited, but limited. They're going to have a rookie quarterback, in my opinion. Their offensive line is still kind of lacking. They don't have spectacular weapons. It has improved. And the defense, I like some of the additions they've made, but still long ways to go. I think the 3 teams in the division ahead of them are much, much better. They're clearly the worst team. So I'm going to set them at 4.5. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Are you ready for this one? The Detroit Lions. Now, they're set at 5. I have no idea what Vegas is thinking. I'm taking the under to the bank. I could see the Detroit Lions realistically being one of the worst football teams I've ever seen in my life. And I'll just leave it at that. 2.5. Now, I'm kind of known as a Green Bay Packer hater around these parts. I know many have called me that, but I actually have them higher than Vegas. Now, maybe Vegas sees something that I don't. The Packers are set at 10.5. I have them at 11.5. I think with Aaron Rodgers still in MVP form, and with Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones back, and still a solid defense that might actually improve due to coaching, I could see the Packers still being very competitive in the NFC. I don't quite see them as a Super Bowl team, but they're definitely going to be in the playoffs, and I still see them clearly as the favorite for that division. So I'm going to say 11.5 here. The Carolina Panthers. Vegas has them at 7.5. Interesting. I think they know something I don't. maybe because they feel like the quarterback's going to be upgraded. If that's the case, I'll move my number. But right now, if Teddy Bridgewater's their guy, they still feel like a meh, middle of the road team to me. I'm going to go 6.5. The offensive line, I think, actually got worse this offseason with some of the additions they made, which I think was actually a negative. I liked some of the defensive additions to both the secondary and the front, Hassan Reddick being a very nice one. I think Carolina gets better defensively. I think they get worse offensively. They're going to fight for one of those second, third, or fourth spots in this division. I know that you tuned into this video for this one. So the New England Patriots. The Patriots are set at 9, which I think is very respectable from Vegas's point of view. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with Bill Belichick, of course. Now, looking at what they did in the offseason, this is one of the most well-rounded rosters in the NFL, and I truly do believe that. I think Cam will be better this year. I think they have a dominant defense and dominant offensive line, and I think they are going to be in the playoffs. So I'm going to set their number at 9.5. But I don't think it's out of the question that they beat the Bills out for this division. So they have the upside, but here's the thing. They don't have the floor Buffalo has because Josh Allen is much better right now than Cam is. The Las Vegas Raiders, 7.5 is the number. To me, they're a 6.5. I think they will be worse this year. I see the Chargers getting better. I could see the Broncos being about the same or maybe better. They have the potential to be at least. The Raiders, I see getting worse. Still haven't fixed the defense. Long way to go there. The offensive line is significantly worse. I think they downgraded at wide receiver, and I really don't see where they got better outside of maybe pass rush. So to me, the Raiders, not going to be good this year, unfortunately. The Los Angeles Rams. Vegas and I are in complete agreement. We both love Matthew Stafford and we both love Sean McVay. So that combination means this team has a very high floor, a floor that they didn't have with Jared Goff, in my opinion, coming into this year. Despite their defensive losses, this team will be very good because they've had a significant improvement at the most important position, and their offense is going to be dynamic. So 10.5 is a number that makes a lot of sense. The Baltimore Ravens, set at 11. This seems a bit rich. The Ravens roster right now is probably one of the most overrated in the entire NFL. Now, I like the offensive line if they can keep Orlando Brown, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Sammy Watkins, is that the true fix of the receiving core? I don't think so. The defense will be good, but I don't see it being great. Okay, so Baltimore, good team, probably playoffs. I got them at 10, but 11 would suggest that they're an elite team, and I just don't think so. The New Orleans Saints have a number of 9, and this is perhaps a respect for Sean Payton as well as the roster talent they possess. But to me, Jameis Winston, far too many questions, and the defense has lost some pieces as well. I don't see them being as good on either side of the ball as they have been the last couple of years. So I'm going to say 7.5. I still have enough respect for Sean Payton to see this team being a maybe wild card team, but I could see the downside. I could see the fall apart here too. The Seattle Seahawks, 9.5 according to Vegas, and I have them at 9.5. Now, if I were to bet either or, I'd probably bet the over on the Seahawks, but I'm not sure because this division is so tight. Like, I could legitimately see any of these 4 teams win the division. I could see any of them making the playoffs. They might all make the playoffs, to be quite honest with you, but I like what Seattle has done to upgrade the offensive line, to make the defense slightly better. With the Niners being better, with the Cardinals might be better, and the Rams got a better quarterback, it's just really hard to have a higher number than 9.5. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 8.5 is their number. I'm going to go a little bit lower with an 8. I would probably lean towards the under, to be quite honest with you. I think Pittsburgh could see major regression. Their defense had some losses like Bud Dupree, like a whole new offensive line. Big Ben is only getting older, and he seems to be deteriorating by the second. So, yes, could they still have elite aspects to this team? Yes. Is it hard to bet against Mike Tomlin and Big Ben? Yes. But when you look at it, this is the least talented Steelers team in probably 3 to 4 years. The Houston Texans Vegas number is set at 4.5, and for me, I have them at 5.5. And the reason I have them at 5.5 is because I'm kind of middling on the Deshaun Watson situation. If he plays, I could see this team having a way bigger upside than 5.5. I could see them winning 8 games. Really, I could see them winning 9 games. He's that good. And this roster actually got better. It's deeper now. If he doesn't play, I mean, this is an under for sure. This is like locked and loaded, dude. The Tennessee Titans have a surprisingly high number of 9.5. This is probably suggested by their last 2 seasons and their results in those seasons, but I see them losing a lot of pieces on this team this year, and I do think they're going to get worse. They lost Dean Pease the year before that. Their defense fell apart. And this offseason, they lost Arthur Smith. That might hurt them more than people think. The Minnesota Vikings in Vegas have an 8.5 number. To me, they're a 9. I think the Vikings are one of the favorites to get a wild card spot. Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than he gets credit for. They have plenty of weapons there, a great wide receiver duo, an okay offensive line, at least when it comes to run blocking, they're very good. Defensively, I think they've improved. They get Danielle Hunter back. They get 2 big men in the middle. Dalvin Tomlinson's added there. Patrick Peterson will upgrade the cornerback group. So I think the Vikings will be better on defense, and they already had a really good offense, so they should be in the playoffs this year. And the final team, of course, is the Washington football team. Vegas has them at 8, very respectable. I have them at 8.5. Reason here is because I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think at the very least he can manage a game. They have more weapons than you would believe, okay? Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, very underrated. Defensively, we know they'll be elite. William Jackson was a huge addition. So I like Washington. I think they can win the division. And like I said, with Dallas, same number as Dallas here. Those are probably the favorites for the division, but I don't think either team will go crazy and have like double-digit wins. So I have the number set at 8.5. Those are your win totals in comparison to Vegas. Let me know in the comment section below where your team stands. If you think I got your team right, let me know. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if I'm wrong, guys. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Gronk, spike that like button and subscribe for more BLV. Peace.